You've been listening to the Could Have Been Champions. On ABC Radio, it's 12 midday.
ABC News, good afternoon, I'm Fiona Kerr. Moody's Investors Service in New York says concern about Australian government policy and overseas factors were behind its decision to review our AA1 credit rating. Moody's announced the credit review shortly after money markets officially closed in New York, but the dollar dropped more than 1 cent US in late dealing. Australian analyst for Moody's, Roger Nye, said the company was concerned that Australia's debt of $31 billion had undermined government control of the economy.
Internally, one sees a set of policy settings by the government which may be questionable. That remains to be determined, and that's part of what our review is going to be looking at. And a set of external factors such as interest rates, external growth rates, possibility of recession, Australia's terms of trade and how well that can hold up. These are factors we're going to look at and see if they impact on Australia's debt severely or not.
Diplomatic observers in China say it appears that hardliners in the Communist Party have begun preparing the way for the purge of party leader Zhao Ziyang and reformist allies from the party's Politburo. Peter Cave reports from Beijing that a vote of confidence in Prime Minister Li Peng by party veterans in its Central Advisory Commission is being seen as another step in the process.
Chinese television broke into normal programs to report the words of 84-year-old Chen Yun, who chairs the Central Advisory Committee, effectively its Council of Elders. It was a thinly veiled attack on Zhao and spoke of exposing the schemes and intrigues of the very, very few people intent on creating turmoil. All of the country's army commands and the overwhelming majority of the provinces have now publicly expressed support for Premier Li, and diplomats here believe that the purge of reformers from the Politburo will soon be formally ratified at a meeting of the Central Committee. Meanwhile, Beijing remains ringed by an estimated 250,000 troops, and the numbers of students occupying Tiananmen Square has begun to dwindle. Peter Cave, Beijing.
Chile has expressed diplomatic displeasure with Australia over a Chilean opposition leader now visiting here. The Chilean government wants Australia to arrest Sergio Bushman, a leader of the leftist Patriotic Front movement. Mr. Bushman's been in Australia for a week. He faces charges in Chile of being involved in obtaining arms for a guerrilla group in 1986. Chile's foreign minister has expressed Chile's displeasure to the Australian ambassador, Malcolm Dan. Sergio Bushman escaped from prison in 1987 and has since been living in Sweden and travelling extensively. However, a spokesman for the Australian Attorney General Lionel Bowen said Chile had not yet complied with Australia's request for full details on the nature of the charges Mr. Bushman would face if he was extradited. The spokesman said that these details were needed before Australia could make a decision whether to allow proceedings to go ahead under the extradition treaty between the two countries. President George Bush has spoken on arrival in Rome for a European visit of dramatic changes in the world. Mr. Bush said they were happening in Europe, both East and West. He said his administration would be actively engaged in Eastern Europe, promoting measures to encourage political and economic liberalisation in Poland. The keynote speech of the President's four-nation tour is expected to be made at the NATO summit in Brussels on Monday and Tuesday. There have been more confrontations between duck shooters and animal liberationists, this time in South Australia. Police say 7 people have been arrested at Bull Lagoon in the state's southeast. Clashes started when the shoot began at first light this morning. Our Adelaide office says animal liberationists from South Australia and Victoria tried to help ducks injured during the shoot and were arrested by police and park rangers. Horse racing, and some of the country's top horses will miss out on a run today because the Forex Cup meeting at Brisbane's Doomben track has been washed out. Heavy rain's been falling at the track since last week. The favourite for the $300,000 cup was the New Zealand galloper, Our Poetic Prince. Other fancies that won't get a run today include the Sydney Cup winner Palace Revolt and the Victorian stayer Dandy Andy. The Randwick meeting in Sydney has also been called off because of rain, adding to the financial woes of the New South Wales TAB. This is ABC News.
The Victorian News with Don Taylor. Only hours after the Chief Police Commissioner, Kel Glare, warned about public antagonism towards police, a shot was allegedly fired at detectives. Police say a man fired the shot after being arrested at the Garden City Chinese restaurant in Baronia Road, Wantirna, at about 1 o'clock this morning. But the shot from a powerful .44 Magnum missed 4 detectives. They arrested 2 men following an operation conducted by more than 25 detectives and other police trying to track down armed men who robbed eastern suburbs restaurants over the past 6 months. A 44-year-old man from Regent near Reservoir and a 45-year-old man from Eltham appeared a short time ago at an out-of-sessions court at the City Watch House. They were charged with 4 counts of using a firearm to prevent arrest and 1 count each of attempted armed robbery, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, going equipped to steal, and various assault charges. Police investigating the shooting of a man outside a hotel at Mount Waverley yesterday say they have an important lead. They've learned the gunman got away in a green Monaro GTS decorated with black rally panels. A man in his 40s was shot in the stomach after he disturbed a man trying to break into his car outside the Notting Hill Hotel. The victim is in a serious but stable condition in the Alfred Hospital. An American woman visiting Melbourne has lost the last filmed memories of her late husband. A camera bag and 2 suitcases belonging to Mrs. Justine Johnson of Washington was stolen only seconds after a taxi dropped her at the Chateau Melbourne townhouse in Swanston Street last night. A friend, Ross Farden, says Mrs. Johnson, who returns to the United States tomorrow, had her bag stolen while she was in the motel calling a porter.
The key thing is, she says, they can keep all the clothes or whatever, but in a camera bag is film, a whole lot of film, but amongst it is all the surviving film of her dead husband who died a few months ago. She's here on a recuperation trip.
Anyone who finds the black bag with a broken camera inside should return it to the Chateau Melbourne, United Airlines, or phone Mr. Farden on 2322 911. 2322 911. One of Victoria's cycling traditions, the Bendigo to Charlton race, is making a comeback today. 93 riders will take part in the 103-kilometre course along the Calder Highway with sprints through the historic gold towns of Inglewood and Wedderburn. Race organiser Jeff McLean says Charlton people hope the race will attract the popularity and prestige it enjoyed when it started in 1962. He says today's race, sponsored by the State Bank, could set new records.
There's quite a tailwind springing up that the riders will receive, which will give them a lot of assistance, so it's quite possible that it will be a very fast time.
And plans are underway for the first yacht race from Victoria to Queensland for more than 10 years. More than 100 yachts are expected to compete in the race starting on July the 29th. They'll set off from Portsea, ending the first leg in Sydney. The final stage of the race will be from Sydney to Southport. The people of Traralgon are being urged to plant more shrubs to save their parks from the ravages of a beetle plague. The local council says an invasion by red-headed pasture cockchafer beetles is turning the Agnes Brereton Park Reserve into a ploughed paddock. Its manager of engineering services, Peter Drummy, says the pests are fatally attractive to crows, which tear up the ground to get to the grubs.
Well, at the moment it's quite serious. The crows are which love them, are trying to attack them. And the only way to get to them is to dig up the turf and turn it over to get to these red-headed cockchafers. Now, doing that means that the ground